I'm Rick Edelman. In 2012, we learned about personal finance from Broadway producers, artists, and master chefs. We surveyed financial advisors on topics ranging from the biggest investment ripoffs to their clients' funniest moments. And we interviewed everyone from Steve Forbes to the Pawn Stars, Rick Corey and the Old Man. And we never stopped giving you the solid advice you need so you can pay for your kids' college education and still retire in comfort and not go crazy along the way. So enjoy this special episode featuring some of the best segments of our second season. It starts right now.
Best-selling author and founder of one of the nation's largest financial planning firms, Rick Edelman.
A long time ago, the only way to get a picture of someone was to hire an artist to paint a portrait. But even in the age of cell phone photography, people still spend tens of thousands of dollars on a painting. And to find out why, I sent my colleague, financial advisor Brandon Corso, to talk with portrait artist Rob Liberace.
This is kind of an old, kind of classic Renaissance technique too, using this red chalk. So.
Why does somebody commission a painting or a portrait instead of going to Sears for, a family photograph?
I think, throughout history, the craft of portraiture and having a portrait done has always been, considered very important as a, powerful tribute to somebody. And I think there is a little bit more expression, passion that comes through in a portrait done by an artist. Look at these shadows going.
How long does it take to do a portrait, a painting of somebody?
The quickest commission that I've ever done was probably about an hour. Most of the commissions that I do take several months to do, very involved. Drawing is, that sort of involvement with the subject.
Let's talk affordability.
If you went out to, let's say, a local gallery, you could probably get a portrait for $250. If you go to the absolute upper tier, you can expect to pay up to $150,000.
Do you have them sign a contract?
That's typical, to have some kind of contract which sets down the scope of work, what kind of painting it will be, and then also installments, what you pay at a certain time. And then if, either the artist or the client decides that they want to step back from the commission for whatever reason, there are clauses that are put in there that just keep everybody kind of safe.
Do you talk to your clients about insuring their work?
It is a pretty important consideration, but I'm not an expert on that, but I know that,
They're talking to their financial advisor and insurance agent to make sure it's insured properly.
Yeah, there, I think you are done.
That is very cool.
Okay.
Rob, I had a great time. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
That was a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and this is amazing, by the way, so thank you.
Not a problem. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Brandon, never saw you looking so good.
It was a lot of fun.
How long did it take him to draw that?
He did it in less than an hour.
So it doesn't seem to take all that long all the time.
No, but if he's doing a true commission of a painting, maybe an oil painting, he'll have his clients that sit there for hours.
Over a period of many weeks, I would presume.
Yeah, and even months. He likes to meet his clients, to really get to know them, to know what he's going to be focusing on as he's painting them.
Well, this is a big commitment of time. I mean, is it possible that he can work from a photograph?
Well, he can. I asked him that question because with children, if you have a 2 or 3-year-old, you don't think they're going to be sitting there for hours.
Right.
So in that case, he will work off a photograph.
And what about pets?
And I asked that question. From time to time, he's done some animals as well.
So I would wonder, most folks would think that this is either antiquated, nobody's doing this anymore, or ridiculously expensive and beyond most people's budgets.
And that was my thought. I thought this was for the ultra wealthy, but as Rob pointed out, you can find somebody to commission a painting for several $100s or many tens of thousands if you're dealing with somebody as talented as Rob.
And I have to believe that this is going to be not only far more memorable, but for the family, far more valuable as a true heirloom.
I think it's just much more special. It's not more valuable in that you can go sell it, but it's more valuable in that it means more to you than a photograph would.
Brandon, thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
Ever wondered why your paycheck is called a salary? We'll have the answer right after this next segment.
At a recent conference, investment advisors were asked just one question. What was their funniest job-related story?
A client that refused to ever spend money, who was very wealthy, and I had them buy a car because their 10-year-old car broke down on the way to my office, and they named it after me.
People often ask me for a tip of the day, what I'm buying, and I tell them I'm buying exactly what they're buying. I'm buying everything all the time.
I had a client once that wanted to start a not-for-profit academy for pole dancers.
I had a client tell me he'd met with his psychic, and his psychic had told him that I would make him a lot of money.
Ever wondered why your paycheck is called a salary? The reason goes back to the times of ancient Rome. Soldiers were often paid in salt, which was rare and valuable. The Latin word for salt is salarium. Over time, this became our word, salary.
We have a live band with us. It is the return of the Percolators, who were such a big hit when you guys wandered into the studio a year ago that Mom insisted I bring you back. And yes, my big brother Larry, who is to my right, is a member of the band. When you said your band was coming back into town, I said, look, do you guys know any tunes that involve money? And I really wasn't sure that you guys would, being a country and bluegrass band, but what'd you find out?
Well, we play a lot of square dances and a lot of square dance tunes, and a lot of the instrumental tunes are named after money. Tunes like Fortune or, Three Thin Dimes. But we did some research, and so we looked at collections from the Smithsonian Institute at old country music, old folk songs, and what we found, we thought we'd find old ballads written mostly about love and murder, and what we found is a huge number of songs about not only money, but hard times.
So these tunes go back, in some cases, 100 years.
A couple hundred years.
A couple of hundred years.
Some were, ballads that came over from,
the
distant
old country.
shores. Yeah, but a lot of them were, tunes about hard life in rural America.
So, Joe, tell us about one of the tunes you're going to play for us.
Well, this is a song that was recorded by Charlie Poole in the 20s, and then the New Lost City Ramblers recorded it probably in the 50s or 60s. It's called, and it's got a chorus. It sort of expresses an investment strategy we thought might be appropriate.
Maybe I ought to try it.
If I lose.
Well, let's lose. Check it out.
Well, I can't walk, neither can I talk. Just getting back from the stable, New York, one morning before day. If I lose, let me lose. But I don't care how much I lose. If I lose $100, I'm trying to win a dime for my baby. She needs money all the time. I don't care how much I lose. If I lose $100, I'm trying to win a dime for my baby. She needs money all the time.
And that's the Percolators playing, I don't know what that is called. I just have this mental blank when everybody talks about the possibility of losing with investments. So given what is going on in the economy and the rather dejected attitude of so many folks, just thought it would make sense to bring in the band today to give us a sense that it isn't just these times that we're discovering are a little difficult. And so, Joe, you've got another song about money and music.
Well, it's about hard times. As a matter of fact, it's called Hard Times. It's a Stephen Foster song. It was written in the 1850s.
Let us us pause in life's pleasures and count the many tears as we all sup sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come again no more. Many days you have lingered around my cabin door. Oh, hard times come again no more.
The economy's in bad shape. They're laying off, the downsizing. They're laying off everywhere, even at the zoo. I went to the zoo, and the animals was laid off at the zoo. The monkeys was working a double shift over in the panda cage. I went to go see the pandas. There was a monkey. He dressed up like a panda. He's sitting in the cage talking about, I'm a panda. I said, you're not no panda. I just seen you over in the monkey cage. He was like, look, we had a lot of layoffs. I had to pick up an extra shift. Just take the picture and move on.
Hi, Mr. Rick. I wanted to ask about what my savings should be for myself, even though I know I have a college fund set aside by my parents. I was wondering, since I want to go to Yale Law when I'm older, how should I start saving now at my young age?
Do you say your young age, how old are you?
I'm 11 years old.
And have you already started saving money?
A little bit, not very much.
How much do you have so far?
Like $500, that's it.
Wow, that's pretty impressive for a young woman your age. Everyone else in the room is pretty annoyed at you right now. So that's very exciting. And Yale Law is where you're headed. So I'm going to give you a couple of pieces of advice, okay? The first is to keep doing exactly what you're doing. Keep saving. You probably get some money from allowances from mom and dad. You get some gifts occasionally. And do you do some work here and there and get some money from others for some of the labors that you put into? So do all of those things and keep doing those things to add to your savings. College is still 7 years away, and that's a long time. And that means that you can take some of the money you have in savings and move it out of bank accounts and into mutual fund accounts or exchange-traded funds. Your mom or your dad can show you how to do this. You can do it with even as little money as you have, even less. You can open an account with $100, $250, no big deal. Mom and dad can help you set this up. The account is called a UTMA account, which is shorthand for a Uniform Transfer to Minors Act. It's simply a way for mom and dad to set up an account with you that you can invest and take advantage of the economy over the next 7 or 8 years. So keep doing what you're doing and keep reminding mom and dad, and by the way, your grandparents, that you want to go to Yale Law School. Now, one other thing that's really important. Since you want to go to Yale Law School, where you go to college isn't the sole subject you need to be thinking about. When you get to be a junior in high school, you're going to be focusing on where to go to college. You're going to be studying for your SATs. Be careful about spending too much money on college because Yale is going to cost over $200,000 to go to law school there. So I don't want you to go to Yale as an undergrad if that would put at risk the family's ability to send you to Yale Law School. I'd rather you spend less money for the college so that you have more money to go to Yale for law school. Yale Law is what the real goal is. So talk with your parents about the idea of figuring out how to get you into college for the first 4 or 5 years without breaking the bank so that you still have money left over to get to Yale Law, okay?
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave you guys on a high note. I like to share good news with crowds when I'm with them. This is the most amazing thing happened to me the other day. I pulled out of a little grocery store lot, pulled into McDonald's drive-thru, ordered a 4-piece nugget, because I'm a very wealthy man. drove off. Guess what happened to me? I had 5 nuggets in the bag. What? 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 Oh my God. You don't get an extra nugget? You feel like you beat the system. I drove off like, ha 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 ha! Forget McDonald's. Cut my headlights off so they couldn't follow me. Pulled into an alley, torched the car. Filed my fingerprints off. Started singing songs from Sunday school. That's the greatest feeling. The only feeling that compares to that is when you find an onion ring in the bottom of your French fries. Oh, you know what I'm talking about, right? Right? You get that, you see that onion ring, you're like, drive, drive, drive! Guys, I'm Jason Williams, good night.
Rick, I've got a question. Why are humans so irrational when it comes to money, even though we're assumed to be rational in Econ 101?
Rational? Humans are supposed to be rational? The only people who think that are economists. And that's because economists are idiots. I'm really serious about this. Anybody who thinks that economists know what's going on in the economy, well, that's irrational. I've got proof too. Economists have always long felt that investors are rational and behave rationally. Here's a little quick experiment to demonstrate why you are smarter than the average economist. I'm going to give you a choice. I'm going to give you 10 cents or a 1 in 10 chance for $1. Which will you take? I'm willing to bet that you're going to go for the $1. I mean, so what if you lose? You only lose 10 cents. But let's change the test. This time I'm going to give you $1 million or a 1 in 10 chance for 10 million. Which will you take now? I'm willing to bet that you'll stick with the $1 million. Economists would claim that you're not being rational. Economists would say that the odds are the same in both tests, a 1 in 10 chance of success, and therefore your answer should have been the same in both tests. And the only reason that economists believe that is because economists are idiots. We understand the reality. We understand that humans act emotionally, that we take things into consideration, factors that aren't entirely based in rationality. And that is why there is a new breed of economists that have emerged, and they're called behavioral economists. They recognize that psychology plays a huge role in financial decision making, and behavioral finance is the source of several Nobel Prize winners in the field of economics. So the next time somebody tells you that you're supposed to be rational when it comes to money, you can accuse them of being an economist.
If you spend $1,000 a day, how long will it take you to spend $1 billion? The answer is coming right up.
When I sat down to talk with Chaz Palminteri in Las Vegas on the set of his one-man play, A Bronx Tale, I thought we'd be talking about his career on stage and screen, the screenplays he's written, and even the secrets of his Baltimore restaurant. Well, we did talk about all that, but we also got into a passionate conversation about personal finance. Take a look.
A doo-wop group sang right down alleyway there. 4 guys, Carlo, Freddie, Angelo, and a guy named Dion. They got their name from the street sign. They were called Dion and the Belmonts, and they could sing better than anybody I ever heard.
A lot of folks who are struggling trying to make it in Hollywood, either as a writer or as an actor, might not occur to them, or even though not novelist wannabes, wouldn't occur to them that, why don't I just write about my own life?
Right. I mean, I had a very colorful childhood, a great childhood. I've always said that. It wasn't a bad childhood. I mean, I did witness murder and a few things, but I've had a great childhood growing up in the Bronx in the 60s. And the late 50s and 60s, and so I'm very fortunate.
Oh, it's one thing to write it. How did you manage to get it produced?
I called a friend of mine who had money, and I asked him, I said, could you lend me, at that time, $25,000? And he said, for what? I said, well, I want to do this. I wrote this play, and I don't have any money. And he said, well, let me think about it. I said, okay. And I thought he blew me off. The next day, I get a FedEx thing, a check of $25,000.
That was a lot of money back then.
And I said, how could you send me this? And he just said, you know, he said, I think you're a really talented guy. I just got faith in you. I saw you in a few plays in New York, and I'm going to take a shot.
My name is Claudio Lorenzo Alfredo Romano Palmenteri. My mother is Rosina Cristina Maria Sofia Palmenteri. My father is Lorenzo Giacomo Paolo Antonio Palmenteri. Now, just ask yourselves one question. Are all these names necessary?
The Bronx Tale is very well known as an outstanding film. Robert De Niro created that with you, but what is less known is that it was not originally a film. It was originally this.
It was originally this. It was the show. The last offer I turned down was $1 million. And I had
just for the rights.
Just for the rights of my play, because they were going to make it, a big stars and put a Hollywood spin on it. And I refused. And I had $200 in the bank. My hand to God, if I'm lying to you. And they said, Robert De Niro just saw the show. He wants to talk to you in the dressing room. I walked in the dressing room. There was Bob De Niro. And he said, I just saw the show. It's unbelievable. It's one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. He goes, it's unbelievable. He goes, this will make a great movie. And I said, I know, Bob, but you don't understand. He goes, I know what everybody's saying. You want to play Sonny. You want to write the screenplay. And he says, I'll tell you how I feel. You should play Sonny, and you should write the screenplay because it's about your life and it'll be real. He says, I'll play your father, I'll direct it, and you and I will go partners. And if you shake my hand, that's the way it'll be. I shook his hand. The rest is history.
And that's the way it was.
And that's the way it was.
And in 1960, I was 9 years old.
Now, you've gone beyond acting and writing and producing, both Broadway and in films. You now own a restaurant.
I own a restaurant. I own a restaurant called Chaz, a Bronx Original. You know,
But wait. Chaz, a Bronx Original, but it's in
Baltimore.
Well, how did that happen?
I'll tell you, I was on tour when I did the show, and I was in Baltimore, and I was looking for a great restaurant to eat on, and I couldn't find anything. I was a little Italy. And finally, I went into this place called Aldo's, and I loved it, and I met the owners there, two young guys, and Aldo, who was the father, who was the chef and the owner. And we just became great friends, and we talked about opening up a restaurant a little more casual than Aldo's, but just kind of hip, and pizza the way I used to have in the 50s and 60s, the coal fire oven, cooks in 90 seconds, incredible food. And we talked about it for about a year, and then we just said, let's do it, and we did it. And now it was voted one of the top restaurants in Baltimore.
Before we go, I'm sure you're very well familiar with all the horror stories of people in your field who make a ton of money and lose it all, either to scam or bad investments or what have you. Talk about that.
And the real key to keeping your money, Rick, is do not live above your means. Always live under your means. The nut will break you every time.
Meaning your minimum expenses.
The minimum expenses, the expenses you have to pay. Now, I have a lot of stars, friends, bigger stars than me, huge, who I won't name, but who had 5, 6 houses all over the world. They don't have them no more. And we sit, we have coffee, sometimes we talk, and they tell me why. They go, you know what, Chaz? It's too much. It's just sending money out there, and after a while you get old and you go, what am I doing? Back down, cut down.
Spend less than you earn.
Spend less than you earn, because then it gives you independence. You could say, you know what, I don't want to do that job.
It also lets you sleep easy at night, not worrying about where's the next money going to come from.
Exactly. If I have to get a job because I have to pay for my home, my mortgage, or my cars, or my boat, I'm living too high, man. I'm living too high. I don't want that.
So you don't have to be a talented, award-winning financial advisor to give great financial advice. Spend less than you earn. Chaz.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
If you spend $1,000 a day, how long will it take you to spend $1 billion?
20 years.
1,000,000 days.
100 years.
You better start now, because the answer is 3,000 years.
Before we go, a few thoughts on today's show. We heard a lot about giving. The friend who loaned Chaz Palminteri $25,000, the dad working to start his child off with a good credit rating, even the fact that 2 out of 3 college students get some sort of financial aid. We should always remember that there's a second part to that equation, that the person who receives and gets that loan, that boost, that chance for a better life, well, it means you not only have a responsibility to repay the money, you also have a responsibility to take advantage of the opportunity you've been given to learn and create and succeed to the best of your ability. And that is the truth about money. I'm Rick Edelman. See you next week.